All right, all right, all right. Welcome, everybody. It's another BS Friday with Mark the Bare Naked Willie, and you guys have no idea he was almost bare naked on today's show. Mark always busting my chops, but we're having a lot of fun. But today is a great day, Mark. Want to know why it's a great day, Mark?
Because there's someone in between us keeping the peace, my friend.
There is someone between us keeping the peace. We got Jay Leppel, who is the team lead at Bensonwood for Airtightness and Offsite construction. 19 years you've been a team. Well, I don't know if you've been a team leader for 19 years, but you've been at Bensonwood for 19 years. And Bensonwood has, been in the forefront and a leader in this industry of offsite panelized construction, pushing the envelopes, trying new techniques, and doing it like no other has been doing it before. And now people are trying to catch up to you is what I think is happening. Really looking forward to having you on the show today.
Great. Thanks for having me. This is a wonderful opportunity.
Absolutely. So are you in the, is that it, Mark? I think you're standing in your background. That's your factory, right?
That's the factory.
I love it. Let's put it a little bigger screen so people maybe can get a view. So
yeah, get rid of me, Dave. I want to see more of the factory.
Let me see if I can blow that up here. And I know, Jay, you have your headset on. Does that mean you can walk around in the background a little bit? Is that what we're going to do?
I could. Yeah, I could come back here. I should have just done the, the stick there.
Yeah,
we could have done it all. We could have done the virtual tour.
For sure, for sure.
We'll do that next time.
We love it. So listen, everybody. And Mark will tell you the same thing. We are live on 3 locations. We are live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. And we are live on LinkedIn, which is always a great place to be. So if you're just joining us, please like and share right now. And Mark, what should people tell us when they log in?
They should tell us that it's hot in Arizona.
Oh, you think it? Everybody always logs in and it's hot in Arizona. I know it. I know it.
You know what they should tell us, Dave, is that they just invited a friend and that they hit the like button on YouTube and that they're in awe that manufacturing is doing construction, right? That background, they're in awe. That's what they should tell us, that their mouth just dropped.
Hit the floor. I agree. I agree. So Jay, I tell you what, why don't you take this opportunity to give us a little bit of a introduction to who Jay is, because I think everybody would rather hear it from you than Mark or I. A little bit of the background, where you come from, and then we're going to jump into this world of knowledge that's stuck between those 2 ears.
All right, great. Yeah, I work for Bensonwood for 19 years. I'm now a company steward and the team leader for our building system shop behind us, and we have about 35 people working in this facility right now, and some of them are on the road putting up these extravagant homes and airtight homes. We've got 3 different platforms that come through here, Bensonwood, Unity, and Tectonics. And, the Bensonwood is still a full service program all the way from architecture, engineering, our virtual fabrication team, and through the build process, and then assembly on site, and sometimes GC in these projects as well. And Unity has a similar thing, but it's got 4 set platforms that individuals, we're trying to drive down the price, but still getting this great building that's airtight. And we can GC those projects or just deliver a shell package, but it's kind of plug and play systems, whether it's a garage or a breezeway or a screen porch, but they're all based off these 4 platforms that we already have generated in our CAD system. And then Tectonics, sorry, I wanted to share the screen here real quick. And Tectonics is, that's really for the building professional.
Yeah.
And that is architects that want a high value home that is airtight, is fully insulated. All the framing crews are offset. The window installation crews, the roof crews are all offset by us if they decide to use our standards. And so we have a set of sections that we can use for different wall assemblies, different roof assemblies. So the architects can start at an early stage saying, I want to go with Bensonwood, and they can put up our product, and I can get a guarantee that about schedule and timeliness and the least amount of change orders, and but it really at the end of the construction is that airtight assembly that we can provide.
Yeah. So so you guys are really broken down into three parts then when we look at that, you know, and I think, you know, this is kind of the interesting part about what Bensonwood has done, you know, because you really have invested a lot in the technology side of this, right? Why don't we kind of talk a little bit about, you know, if you give us like the history of Bensonwood, like it all started, you know, how did you get into the robotics and the cutting lumber and everything else, the automation within your factory, and where did that come from prior to the rest of the world saying, well, this is a great idea?
Well, I think, you know, Ted started in the 70s with having a dream about providing off-site construction. And really, he's got 3 or 4 books out that are all about timber framing, right? And just bringing all that to off-site construction. So they were whittling away with chisels and making these great joints and making up new joints. But really, it has to do with globally inviting interns and Japanese wood builders, but really all aspects of the world. We had Japan and Germany and Sweden and France and all of these interns coming here, and we're learning from these guys. And it's just as you know, it's just an evolution that happens. And so at the turn of the century is really when we got into all of our offsite. We kind of were sick of the SIPs. We were sick of putting foam in the landfill and not having a solution for wiring. And, you know, and we still use them sometimes. They're good in some places. Right. I don't get me wrong, but we wanted to create a system that solved a lot of problems. So we developed the open built system, which I'll show you a little bit about later. But ever since then, it has just blasted off, you know, and that's a lot of our company's technology now. So we got into the Hun diggers. I think we got our first Hun digger in mid 90s, and that was our timber cutting machine. Now we've got a robot down there. We've got 2 speed cut machine Hun diggers. We've got CNC technology for the nailing and the routing, and a ton of vacuum lifts now. So it's more sustainable for the associate that works in here too, and not humping around huge timber or sheathing. So it's been awesome to watch the evolution take place.
You know, awesome. Mark, one of the things that you can really chime in on that I picked up personally, where I think is, you know, you've been global with passive house and energy efficiency and airtightness. I'd love your 2 cents on what Jay had to say. And I know you were going to say something. I saw it coming, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'd love your 2 cents on how important this global conversation is to the advancement of what we do in construction. And I know you have a big voice on that.
I always have a lot to say. You've covered everything so well, Jay. The fact that you guys embrace the knowledge and the lessons from the other countries is probably one of the reasons you are where you are today. And then starting from that timber frame background with the precision, right? It's just brilliant. It's embracing the joy of wood, the joy of the craft, and then applying that technology from folks that did it better than us. And now you hone in and bring it together. So I'm thrilled, and I want to dive in. We don't have enough time for this subject. This is a 12-part series for people.
Let's get it on.
This is a 12-part series. Jay didn't know what he was getting into.
No, he did not, but he's about to learn quick. All right, Jay. So why don't we get into, you know, how this all begins, the preparation of, let's say we're going to do something with Bensonwood. Let's talk about how a project begins.
Yeah. So, I mean, I haven't watched all your series, but I bet a lot of people have talked about team engagement and the process of how important it is to get a general contractor and the HVAC guy and the electrician, everybody on board of how to get a project done, not just the architect in the beginning, but the whole team on board. And that's something we're able to deliver here. That's been fantastic to work with our carpenters all the way up through sales. And it's so important in the beginning, especially when you're talking about an airtight or a passive house, because all these penetrations mean everything. And where the equipment lives and what part of the house, and are people really throwing this above the insulation in the trusses and just letting it freeze up and putting more insulation around these ducts? And it's just all of those things need that team engagement in such an early process of the process. And so that, you know, I just say that we have these build it meetings that comprise of all of those different groups, including the guys that go out on site here, which is a huge benefit. And I learned that when I came here, and it's one of the reasons I love this place.
Well, you know what?
I would say, go ahead, Dave.
Mark. No,
I
please.
would say what you just said is all of the services under one roof, right? And the point of that is under one roof, not just physically under one roof, but ideologically and process-wise under one roof. Love it.
Yeah, it makes sense. And one of the things I think everybody really needs to understand that I learned just in our pre-conversations was your company culture is like no other. You have a very strong company culture where everybody feels that they have a say, they have a part, they're part of the business. They're not just an employee of the business. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
Oh, very accurate. And because of it, just a wonderful place to be. And, you know, a lot of the associates take on as much as they can. And it's an amazing place to work when you see these guys that are out in the trenches and they take on getting here early in the morning, loading their truck and trailers, prepare like they do. And it's amazing. But I wanted to have a shout out to, I think someone you're going to have on your show is Helena. She brought a lot of that here as well. Some of the lean manufacturing, but also the process of that culture. We do what's called the Q-dip every morning, and it's safety, quality, delivery, inventory, and productivity. And every morning at 6 a.m., we all get together and go over that. And that gives really everybody a voice and a chance to explain themselves, no matter how small someone may think it is. It's important to them, and it's important to us that they bring those up to improve our process. And it has always improved from the site carpenter back up. It doesn't always improve when you're drawing on a piece of paper, because you don't catch it then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it, right? Love it. So with that said, if we have process, we have the preparation. We kind of talked about the company culture and how valuable the people are, because without the people, right, it's
Definitely
not going to where it needs to go. And what you guys have done, and this is where, you know, I know Mark's really going to jump in, because this is something that Mark lives and breathes. So Mark, build it twice, 3D modeling before you build it in the field, right? I know you're going to go there.
So we have a Dave's pointing to me here, Jay. We have a statement in our family that all homes need to be built twice, right? And we also have a statement that came from my father that says, start with a piece of paper. So what you've done is you've combined the two great philosophies of our family, and you said, we're going to start with a piece of paper. Today we know it's a virtual piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
Dimensional piece of paper, and you're building that house twice. For people that aren't in the building industry, they just think, what are we saying? But to the rest of the industry, that's how everything works. So take us on a journey of this magical process that you created for efficiency and for true planning, scheduling, and productivity.
Yeah, so if I could, I'd like to share my screen real quick and give some simple statements here, which is going to be, it's going to be so funny. So you see on the screen here, you know, this is a boxy building for the most part, right? This is a multifamily we did, and you see all the colors, and they're just really simple geometric shapes, right? That's how we start with a model. These walls are already at the right dimension. The roofs are in terms of thickness. But the reason for this model right here is how we panelize. And this is so important. You just say, oh yeah, those are some pretty colors. Each color represents, in the order it will be manufactured through our speed cut machine, through the whole process, and the picking order on site. It then turns into what I'm going to show you on the screen here. This is the same diagram of what I just showed you. So I've got on the upper left there all the floor systems. On the middle, I've got all the eave walls. On the right, I've got all the interior walls. we've got the common walls in the middle that have a lot to do with fireproofing and air sealing. And then we actually have drawn on the lower right there all the construction stairs, so people don't need to be climbing ladders all day long. We actually produce construction stairs that come right off the Hundigger, and they're mortise and tenon actually, and it can just be put together very quickly. But what I want to say about this is what we go over every morning it might be silly to think because everybody works virtually now, but we hang this on a big sheet of paper out at our QDIP meeting, and people are just manually checking these off. Yep, we've done this bundle, it's out the door. It gives us how we're going to truck it to site. It gives us the order in which we're trucking it to site. It gives us the length, width, and really we've made all our standard details so similar, it goes together with almost just this diagram. These guys can put a house together just with this diagram. So pretty amazing stuff there.
My simple question is there then like a Gantt chart timeline that shows those colors in order as well? Or do you guys naturally know the color
assembly process?
Assembly. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say yes to your question is a simple area. We do have another Gantt chart that is more for scheduling to make sure that we're on point with our cutting ahead of time. But just like you said, also those colors are actually in numerical order too. All that cyan color you'll notice is always the first bundle. So that's the first bundle that needs to arrive on site. So it is color coded as well.
You said something non-technical, but extremely technical in that. And Dave, I saw your eyebrow move at the same time as mine. Your stairs are mortise and tenon?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not fully housed, but it does we do a universal mill and do a housing, and then the tread just locks in there. So we actually put the stairs together just with a threaded rod so we can take them back apart.
I mean, that's great. So, I mean, this whole package, like you said, you design it, it's color coded. Does it ship in a color coded format? Like when you get to a site, how does the process go? We take all of this from here, and I know maybe I'm jumping ahead, but
no, that's okay.
How do you plan this out the door? How do you plan the actual fabrication and then make sure the trucks are lined up in the right order?
Well, we have our shipping and receiving department that deals with the trucking, but your first question about color coding the bundles. No, we're not out there with the marker color coding them, but what you can't see is some of the text in there, and it says W01 for wall bundle 01 and F01 for floor 01. So very simple. And that's associated with the drawing with the bundle that has the length, width, and height on it as well.
Got it. Very cool. Oh, look at that.
So I was going to roll right into to some details if you want, but I just want to say real quick, I'm going to show you some of our, pretty standardized construction, whether it passive house, whether it not as much insulation, but they're all getting an airtightness. That we can. But let me just back up. Those simple geometric shapes I showed you, there's an algorithm, which we call an element routine, that automatically draws all the bottom plates, the studs, the headers, the jack studs, everything in the model, the end studs, and how our end conditions work. And same with how the floor hits the slab, floor hits the floor, roof hits the wall. All of those conditions are automatically drawn in then, as long as that simple geometric shape is drawn accurately. So that's a pretty amazing part of the process, and everything in here. So if I were to start tearing apart this wall, but if I just put in here, that all has its own production number that goes immediately to our speed cut machine, and it would be taking out all these notches for wiring and any other clip cuts that it needs. So there's no 2D conversion or XY conversion. It's all from 3D right to the machine. So you draw it accurately, the machine is cutting it accurately, and it's going to the table just in time. The last thing I just want to say is that bundling is our batch size. So we cut only 2 bundles ahead. It goes to the framing station and moves on. And that allows us to cut walls, then roof, then floors, and go back and forth like that.
All right.
So what people are used to is black and white paper print set. They might have one electrically, And the carpenter shows up on the job site, and he's trying to figure out what this wall size is, right? Because all he's got is an elevation, probably not even a framing schedule. And you've got one step, well, not one step forward. You got a multitude of steps forward that shows you each stud's exact size placement and cutouts. Brilliant, right? Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, with our air sealing strategies, it has to be perfect. And, you know, the quality control in here is really impeccable on how it's done and how much vested time the guys have in that quality control.
Yeah. And I want to just point out what is so important to this, as the rest of the industry is trying to catch up with Bensonwood. What allows you to have the precision and accuracy of what you do is all starting right here on the computer. The fact that, I mean, I can see the tape on the seams to the exterior sheathing behind the studs and you can see the notches for the wire cutout, the plumbing cutout, all the way down. And I think that's, you know, that's the innovation you guys have been using for a while. And even in this portion, it's even getting better, the innovation, and the details are even getting better yet. And I think this is what allows you to have that precision, be environmentally a lot more friendly, less waste on site, right? I mean, I'm looking at your production line back there. If I think of a typical modular manufacturer, there is dust and dirt everywhere. You know, I mean, it's amazing what I'm seeing. Absolutely.
Yeah, we try to keep pretty lean and 5S the whole shop every single week. And, you know, there is a lot of less creation of waste, but that's because we're trying to change what we bring in for material too. All of our material is all 36 foot long. It's put up in a back with a vacuum lift and brought to the machine. And anything that's left over is easily used in the next job as blocking or penetrations or anything like that. So
right.
I don't want to say zero waste, but it's pretty close when you get to the end of it because we're not throwing it away.
Sure.
So before this one, we're going to dive into deep, right, guys?
Yeah, we're definitely going to dive in deep on this for sure. And the lean manufacturing side. I think it all plays into this.
Dave, should we see who's joining us today before we dive in deep?
Oh man, you mean let's engage the audience?
I want Jay to have a chance to drink some water because I know we're gonna dive deep. So let's see who's here.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Hey, we got Adam White. What's up, Adam White? Adam White says, "Let's do this." I don't know. Do you know? Everybody knows Adam White. How can you not know Adam White, right?
Adam.
And then of course we got Mark BS Wille always on. Hey, Mark, you know Mark's on here. I love it. I love it. And of course, we always have Jennifer in the background. Bensonwood and Unity Home, leaders in offsite construction, building, and healthy homes using lean manufacturing. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Jennifer.
We have our good friend Shane McNutt. What's happening, Shane, from Ohio? Looking forward to the show today.
He always has the same smile, Dave. Every week, the guy has the same smile. Amazing.
He does. You know what? He's always smiling. I know if you've spoken to him, I've spoken to Shane. He's always smiling.
Oh, yeah.
But this next one I'm going to put up's a real character. I don't know if you guys know him. We got Jerry Makahi from Integra. Hey, Jerry, what's happening? The team at Bensonwood truly are stars in the industry. Great, innovative company. Keep going.
Dave, we use Integra's line all the time, and Jay commented on it, and you did too. So let's just give the props. Jennifer's working on the T-shirt in the back. Precision equals performance, and that's why he's tuning in, because you're sharing your joy, your love, your passion, Jay, and you know, much respect to our buddies out west. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, Jerry. Love it, love it, love it. Of course, Jennifer gave a shout out to Hundaker and Steve Schrader. If everybody knows Steve. Steve was on the show not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
Gotta love Hundaker. All right, we got Prudence Fiera joining us. Hey, Prudence, good to see you. Totally agreed on penetrations.
Oh, I'll get into that.
All right, more Adam White. I could do Adam White will be posting like every 5 seconds. I got to just pick the ones we can put up real quick. Show the system, he said. Well, let's get through a couple more because they're starting to come in quickly, and I want to make sure we get through everything.
Yeah.
All right, from YouTube, we have Joe Rando. Unfortunately, I need to jump off the presentation, but on behalf of GDS Associates, an energy rating consulting firm who certifies Bensonwood and Unity projects for Energy Star, we applaud. All right, well, that was a good shout out. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Sorry you couldn't stay with us.
Joe's doing some job security right there. Nice job, Joe.
He did my house.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. We got Tom Reddy. Great comment, Mark. We need to teach our processes so our customers understand the value of offsite building. So Tom Reddy, they do steel fabrication, Synergy Steel. So great people for sure. All right, one more comment from Joe. Since he's leaving us, we'll give him a little extra attention. Jay and his team for their attention to detail and continued efforts to transform the built environment onward and upward.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Oh, Brian White, Adam White's brother is on. Okay. You can use, give you a break, Dave, from reading. You can use an eraser on the drafting table or a sledgehammer on the construction site. Good night.
I love it. I love it. All right, we got some more coming in here, but let's hop back into the presentation. We got to keep things moving along, and I know, Jay, we got videos, we got pictures. If you're just joining us, we are live with Jay Leppel from Bensonwood. We're going through how they build. We're talking about their culture. We're talking about lean manufacturing. We're talking about using technology and BIM, and we're going to finish up this conversation on how they achieve airtightness in offsite construction. That's a big thing because a lot of people don't think it can be done, but it can.
Before we dive into the airtightness, because you could start putting those assemblies up so Jay could go into it. A code building in the U.S. is IECC, IRC is 5 air exchanges per hour. And so what does that mean? So that basically means the front door is wide open. So if you tabulate all the little holes in the building together, it's the equivalent of the front door being open. You would say that's going to make my building uncomfortable, hot or cold, right? Depending on the season and climate. What Jay gets into is it sub 1, and I'll let him have the thunder on the end, but that's a hole this big, right? And the entire building, maybe this big, but he's going to talk about some of his lit this way. So that's the air exchanges for the building being reduced. That's why we're here, for the precision. Take it away.
Oh gosh. So many comments, right? So what do you think about sharing the screen first, Dave? And by the way, it's Lepple, it's not Leppel.
Oh, did I say Leppel? Oh, I'm sorry. You know how many times I've done that? Who else?
I'm sure
I was on site and I did it with John Borgiano, but I said it wrong. And we're live on camera, and then I busted my chop, and it's John Borgiano, and I know he's watching today. It's Borgiano. My apologies. All right,
so
Jay,
what do you think about sharing that screen again?
There it is.
All right. So, I mean, this encompasses everything, right? The assembly itself. This is our flex wall and roof, and why we call it the flex in Passive House is because, depending on the climate zone and the microclimate you're in, many different things can be done. And I'm not a consultant, I'm a Passive House builder, but I know enough about putting these things up and what we need to achieve. And there's a lot of things I want to comment on here, but I want to just talk about maybe our layers real quick, because no matter how thick our insulation is or how thick our studs or I-joists are, we use our same set of criteria for air sealing our buildings.
Yeah.
And so let me just come in. I'm showing you a 3D section here. Well, it's not a section if it's a 3D, but I'm showing you our interior wall cavity. And this interior is a 2x4 in this one, to be able to add insulation. But what I want to note here is it's fastened to our OSB layer with this one is, I think, a 2x12 behind it. And then we have a wood fiber board on the exterior. So I just made a bunch of layers disappear. But what I want to say here is we use the OSB as our vapor control layer and our air sealed layer. The reason why we do this, I know there's a lot of membranes out there. A lot of people would love to disagree with me, and I'm sure they do. but nobody can slash this with an X-Acto knife. So they got to get out a saw and really do some damage on this thing to get through this air barrier, which is why we put it on. Another reason, when we get into things like shallow frost protected slabs and all the insulation people are putting on the outside of their foundation, we are keeping all of our hold downs to the inside. So we've got Titans through this layer. We've got these custom hold downs that we use in this layer, and it all gets covered up by drywall, and it's all inside the air barrier. It's not inside, it's not condensating somewhere in the middle of the wall. It's all inside, and I can't stress that enough. So we have an engineered solution to be able to get these things out of the middle of the wall and keep just insulation in there. And lastly, I just want to say this OSB is our shear layer as well. So we're not, even though we've got sheathing on the outside, we are not using that as our shear layer. We're keeping it to the inside. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
I just want to take people through it. So the gray on the bottom that you just highlighted pink, that is what material?
That's just I'm showing a foundation there. That's a slab.
Okay. And then underneath your bottom plate, there's a green line.
That is part of stitching that interior, what we call the open built layer, to the exterior framing layer. So that whole shear plane works together.
Okay.
So
and
what does that actually product wise mean? What is that?
That's actually, we're only using 1/2 inch PT there. So we try to eliminate another layer of wood in that assembly. And then we're covering the exterior with a wood fiber board, all the studs, whether it be an eye joist or a stud with that. And you can also see the machine notches. We showed that before for all the wiring and Romex to just flow through. So I don't think we're getting a big discount for that on site though. They're still charging us full price.
And they don't have to drill anything.
Well, they don't have to drill anything.
Well, they might be charging you full price, and that will change in the industry. We're making the job for the trades, in this case, the electricians, easier. But one thing it does change, if it doesn't change their labor price, it changes the coring, the boring, the sweeping, and the delays, and it actually gives them the route. So it's also eliminating the thought process, right? You're giving them a pathway, and that is reducing the carrying cost and increasing the performance.
And that's what I'm showing right here, Mark, is a cutaway of a PVC sleeve that we do all of the exterior receptacles, sconce boxes, and anything through the roof too. Any of the ventilation pipes, you can kind of see right there. We'll go through, we'll put all that in our wall panels because we don't want someone hacking into the interior air barrier. We just want them to run their cord, squirt the foam, tape it up, put any insulation in there you want, but tape it up and let's move on. So it's a full system.
That's the best part about it. And Jennifer's in the background smiling. Building system, building system. So this is not just an assembly. This is not just a carpenter's dream. This is an MEP delight, right?
It sure is.
So not just for the workers, right? And for the people that use their great skills, it's gonna have results way down the road because it's not 4:15 on a Friday and we cut a hole in the roof. Oh, I don't have that fitting. We're going to come back Monday. And on Monday, the whole building's wet. Right.
Exactly.
So,
and let's just go into the roof for a minute. So, you know, another huge product of ours that, again, we just do in multiple thicknesses, whether we're doing it for a unity or a passive house, but we're using eye joists everywhere. And I'll take you from the inside again. And we're doing interior boards. We're doing interior OSB. We're doing the eye joists. Yep. We're then putting on the Styco here as well on the exterior or the wood fiber board. And then we're putting sleepers on. And then we're putting on another, in this case, a layer of zip on the top and stitching all this together. And let me tell you, putting on one of these roofs in a matter of a day or 2 days is huge to what you just said, Mark, about keeping it open for, you know, a long period of time, seeing all that wetness, and then figuring out how that's going to dry out. I mean, this is huge. We're actually putting the boards on in the shop here as well. And you can actually see between the two panels, I've left the boards off one side. We then tape all that, but it's also a place to run wiring in between the finished boards. And then we put this faux batten strip to cover those wirings up and put these termination blocks so you can put surface mounted ceilings or surface mounted LEDs. And so again, a system, as you said, the building system all coming together and running right from the wiring from within the wall cavity.
There are some people tuning in right now that are going. First of all, they're jumping up and down because you took them to the promised land. But second of all, they're asking, how thick is the OSB? What is the furring strip? What are the fasteners? And then you have our friends at Sega saying, oh my God, thanks for the product shout out.
Yeah, for sure. And one other thing real quick before we break that down, and Mark's absolutely right. So everybody understands, I mean, this is a full system. Floor cassettes, roof cassettes, correct? Wall panels. So when this is going together, this is designed all the way through. Is that accurate comment?
That's definitely accurate. And that's what we want to provide to each one of the customers and the builders to ensure that their lives will be easier in the end, and that it's a process that, as you know, in construction can be time consuming and a nightmare sometimes for a client or a builder. And that's why we try to offset so many trades to say, okay, this is going to be quick and easy. We're going to be able to finish off this building. And you mentioned floor cassettes real quick, Dave. I just want to show you that we're actually balloon framing that interior wall, so to say. I'm sorry, the exterior wall, but we're platform framing the interior. So again, the screws are happening right here from the rim into the top and bottom plate of our wall sections. And I'll tell you what it does as a builder is you've got these guys building so accurate in the shop, these squares and these rectangles, that when those set in, it kind of locks it in place. You see a third, a quarter of the amount of string lines going on these walls. One, because these top and bottom plates are glue-lam, but second, because these floor cassettes are so square that when you drop them in, they just lock these walls in place, and it's amazing how they go together. It truly is, and especially when we're just making different parts and pieces, like you said, the shout out. We've got Sega, we've got Advantech, we've got Zip, we've got all these different products trying to make a system, and that's how we've evolved over the years.
When we look at this outside portion and what people are seeing, if they're not familiar, that's dense packed cellulose, right?
Correct.
And in this case, how deep is that?
In this case, it is a 2x10.
Okay. So he's got 9 1/4 inches of cellulose, and then you have a 1/2 inch OSB, and then you have a 2x4 platform or platform framed interior.
Correct.
Okay.
And wood fiber board on the outside, another R5.
The interior 2x4, does that get any insulation at all or no?
Yep. Not always, but it can be insulated. Mm-hmm. But that's why we leave it open for all the wiring and those hold downs and those attachments first.
Okay.
So in a passive house, most likely we will be. We'll sometimes do these, like in our Unity's homes, for instance, we do this as a 2x3 instead of a 2x4. But you're correct in saying these ones are 2x4s with it insulated.
Right.
Is there a system that you use through this? And by the way, what you just did when I asked the question on what is it, and you pulled up the chart and you popped in as a 2x10, people were happy again. Is there something in the system that's a red flag for when these come together on, oh my gosh, a thermal bridge or something like that? How do you plan for that?
I'd say that's more on the consultant side to make sure those details are where they want them to be in the beginning. But usually I would say with our details, the thermal bridging is mitigated always. That's what we try to do. And we really focus a lot of it around the doors and the windows, just how much added insulation we're doing around those components or the punched openings, more so than the assembly itself. What you do say, though, is there is a way for the computer that anything that collides, you know, any of the wood that collides and they didn't notice the drawing collide, it does show up. So that's pretty cool to let us know with the algorithm again to say, okay, you got a problem here, fix it.
So the building science guys, Dave, they look at what they've done with it's the OSB layer, right, on the outside of the 2x4.
Yep.
And
Correct.
they look at that as the red line. It goes continuously around, so they know where their air barrier is. And then what Jay pointed out is they've mitigated their thermal bridging by including 9¼ inches of dense packed cellulose, so the heat doesn't come through or the heat doesn't leave. So they prepared for more climate zones than probably what the person calling them to produce their home even knew about.
I love it. And Jay, let me ask you this too, because with all of this dense packed, you know, cellulose, this is all pre-installed already at the manufacturer. Is that an accurate comment, right?
Correct. All of it. Yeah.
So as this framing's coming together for our audience out there that may not understand the full assembly process, I mean, what we're talking about is everything that's already pre-assembled at the manufacturing plant, and it is coming to the site this way, and it is being put together this way. So there's minimum insulating and site work that needs to happen to tighten up that envelope.
Definitely. Yeah. And you know, go to our YouTube channel and check out the assembly process, because that'd really show you about the insulating and how it's not just off the back of a pickup truck and shoved in with a tube. It's right. Pretty amazing, the system and what we have going for the insulating process here, and the accurate of, we have preset recipes, we call them, and that is already drilled into the tablet for the different depths. And so knowing that we're going to have, you know, 4 pounds per cubic foot in that cavity to ensure no settling is occurring.
So Jay, you laughed and talked about the pickup and the tube going in there. So with the amount of years you and Dave and all of us have been in the industry, we've used these terms over time, like the trunk slammers, right? The guy that shows up in his car, and here we got our rigs with all this equipment. But what Bensonwood has done is they're allowing the contractor to show up on site on his bicycle, because he doesn't need all this stuff, right? It's a transformation, right? And who would have ever thought it, right? So we don't have trunk slammers anymore, right? We've got people on bicycles. I mean, the carbon footprint alone that you guys are saving is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if we're quite there yet, but we're getting close. And it's funny you mentioned the builder side of things, because really we want it, not during COVID right now, but really we want to partner up with every builder out there to learn our system, so that they don't, one, feel like they're offset, that they're part of the system, and that they can take the system to the home base too.
Yeah, and that's really it. I mean, right now with the education and the move towards offsite, I would imagine you guys are busier than ever right now. I would imagine that, you know, the amount of builders that, you know, even tune into our show across the country and around the world, you know, are going to hopefully reach out and try and learn from what you guys are doing and work with you on so many fronts. But this is the way forward. And this is what's been so great about Bensonwood. I've been in the offsite business a long time myself. The fact that you have taken it to the next level long before most others, you've used the rest of the world's knowledge to bring it here in the, you know, to the United States and within your organization. You've built a company culture of build it twice and get it right. Getting it right is a big deal. You know, you become an asset. You become a part of somebody's team, more so than just a supplier. And I think that's what people have to understand with offsite manufacturing. When they build something stick by stick on site, they have all their trade partners, and that's it. And typically they're all separate. When they build with Bensonwood, they're building with a true partner that has the framers, has the insulators, has the airtightness, has the engineers, has all of the top specialists from around the world, in your instance, on their team to get it right the first time around, which is going to reduce their liability. And they're going to, I think about all this. It reduces their liability to the consumer, and it allows them to build more houses faster. That's the thing. Faster, right? And the trade, same way. Like Mark said, you don't have to lug your truck around and burn all that diesel, and have the bad back climbing in and out of the back of it all the time, because now you can do more houses with less, and you have less stress too, because now they don't have to drill their own holes. Yeah. What's not to like?
Especially when you take a look at all those layers and people trying to invent that on site, right? When you're a first builder doing a passive house, I mean, I don't know how anybody gets it right the first time. I really don't, because there's so many layers. And talk about trips to the lumberyard or just trips around the building. Yeah. like how many layers you're putting on. It blows me away. And that's what we have here. And like you said, a little bit of a foolproof process that have been vested over hundreds and hundreds of buildings.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
It's not just the trips to the lumberyard or supply house. When you go for the passive house, these materials are not accessible. Right. And a lot of people want these homes in a remote location, which is hard to build to begin with. So you're under one roof, Bensonwood, it's under one roof. And, I'm sure you have a Sega section and a Huber section and so on. And they're all color coded well. So it's a system. It's a building system. It's a building system.
With the team. Yeah. With the team. Yeah. So, hey, Mark, why don't we jump into some quick comments that we have going on? And then, Jay, what I want to do is get into some of the photos and pictures here showing how this all comes together and how you really achieve that air tightness. Yep. So let's hop on. So, we have somebody all the way from France. I don't know if everybody knows Henry Mickelberg, right? I had to put this one up. None of this clever shit is helping my Americans aren't too bright prejudices. Wow.
All right, Henry.
That's a compliment. It's the first time I read it. I had to go back.
I heard it.
I love it. I love it. All right, Sarah. I'm copying MEP Delight for my marketing materials. I love it. Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate that. We're going to wait for the T-shirts, right, Mark? We'll wear them on the show.
Hey, the fact that you got marketing personnel from Bensonwood on the show, awesome. Thank you for being here, Sarah.
I love it. I love it. All right, so we have Travis. Are you using the Revit model for coordination among other trades, and are you sharing metadata within your model? Why are you stepping away from Revit and using CADWork 3D?
Oh, can I answer this well enough? Anyways, the short story. We do use Revit, and we do use it to coordinate with others, but I want to say what I want to say, and that is the CADWork program really works well with the Hundiggers, and we have just had a relationship with CADWork since our first Hundigger. So that's really why we're sticking with it in terms of the machine data.
I love it.
That's how it talks to each other. That's the simple answer. That's a system that works, and Revit has what Revit has.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Here's what I love about the show. All the air barrier guys and everybody are starting to tune in. So I got to put some of them up because they're big supporters of the show. Adam White. Oh no, is that air taping? Passive purple brush is going on the post to you, my friend. So I guess you're going to get some purple stuff in the mail. So love it. Andrew Sealy, MEP Delight is class. Sometimes making things easier makes the result better. Love it, love it, love it. All right, moving in here. Jen, do you see some more that we got to put up there? Here we go. Prudence, can you guys please figure out a way to put moisture and temp sensors into your cellulose walls on the cellulose side of the sheathing and outdoor edge of cellulose layer? We need this to confirm hydrothermal performance of cellulose in various climates.
We've done it. We don't do it in every house, but we've done a lot of tests with it. And of course, when we've gone to even our insulated roof that has sheathing on both sides on the northeast corner of the roof, and and have seen dry to the bone. Now, I'm not saying we've done this with every house, and I agree with her that we should. We haven't included it in our pricing yet. We haven't got a partnership yet with someone that, they're still costly. And
Jay, she's a hydrothermal and passive house expert, and sometimes when you throw out the bids to people, you already know the budget of your clients, and so one of the things we do to drive the industry is to show that add-on option of the sensors, show a project that used it. So when they came to you, they didn't know 90% of what you do already. So when you keep putting those cards on the table, right, they're going to keep picking it up because they want to sit at your table. So I think that's the driver of this, is to give them the data, give them the information. If they don't select it, they had the opportunity, and maybe they will on round two.
Good point.
So for the audience that doesn't know, and then we're going to jump back into this just real quick, what is a moisture sensor in the wall and how does that work? Is that extra wiring? Like just so everybody that doesn't understand what that means.
So it picks it up and it sends it digitally, right? It goes to the cloud. It's funny. Yep. Moisture goes to the cloud. Always quotes. That's a t-shirt. Moisture goes to the cloud. And from that, you're able to learn, right? And that's why Jay said what he said. The northeast of the building, right? So the part of that roof that doesn't receive sunshine, what's happening in that cavity? So in the instances that you've shared with us, they have the blown-in cellulose, and it depends on where the project is. But it's telling us what's actually going on besides waiting until something happens, right? So it's an alert system, and it also proves the theory. So they're aware of it, and you can tell by the precision of their projects that they have that. So that's a sensor is a sensor. We're used to CO2 and smoke, right? It's telling us something's going on. It's a potential for health and safety hazard. Bing, we could do something different.
Love it. I love it. All right, Jay, listen, let's talk about what you think is the most important thing we should cover from here on out for air barrier or for air tightness and how you put your units together. So let's talk about the air tightness on your product and how you get that air tightness in your words.
Yep. I just want to say that let's start off by saying every single one of our homes are blower door tested right after our construction. So that could be a week's time. That could be 2 weeks time. On a multifamily, it might be a couple more weeks. But at the end, we're blower door testing for ourselves and our knowledge to record and say, yes, this was an airtight home. And depending on if it's passive house or not, our unities, we say one air change at 50 Pascal or lower, no matter what. A lot come in below passive house level. They're not passive houses, but they are able to use air source heat pumps and heating systems and go all electric and get to net zero very easily because of our airtight strategies. And I have a great example of just yesterday. We put a home in just in New York in just over a week, and right out of the box, plugging in the blower door test, we were 0.42. So just a huge kudos to those guys. But I would say that the whole team, as to how we construct these homes and the standard detailing. And so we do a lot of thinking around, okay, how do we air seal this product here in the factory? And then on site, their primary concern is air sealing it on site. We use a lot of gaskets for that. Towards the interior of our air barrier, we're able to do it in high heat. We're able to do it in negative temperatures. And that's the key to the gasket. It lays down quickly. Maybe you want to show that quick video.
I'm going to pull it up right now. Let me.
Go ahead.
While you pull up that picture, Jay, can you tell us, so the house is in New York, so now we know the climate zone, about a week, right? Now we know your time frame. By the way, nice finger joint. And what is the square footage of the house, just to give people a sense of what that meant?
Oh, and that's a good point. And I don't know the square footage of the house right off the top of my head, but I want to say it's probably right around a little over 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
And
traditional sized home, and it's achieved with this many air gaps all together, 0.42 for a traditional home, and put in a week. So if everyone doesn't have their jaw on the ground right now, right, with how wonderful that is, that's just amazing. And I give you all the acknowledgement and accolades for that. It is, if you would have told me that 20 years ago, I would have thought you were a Martian, right? I would have thought you were, or a god. Today, it's still an industry leading, and I could tell by your smile and your happiness, you're not done, right? You got room for more. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, but again, it's those guys on site that make it happen. But what's most amazing to me is what I said about plugging in the blower door test, right? We're not going around chasing holes. It's done. It's done. We still can. We can still get it tighter, right? But they went around. They didn't start drilling holes, squirting foam, adding glue, adding more tape. All of it's done really with that gasket right there. But I want to say that it mates with the panelized construction. We're not just using tapes. We're not just using membranes. We developed a system that works as a system. It's not just a one brand system. It's not a one name system that I can just say that's what happens on site and that's the only way you can achieve it. I know you can achieve it many ways, but being on site with these panels going up and the amount of time that they do and getting that air change and in that small of a home also, as you might know, is very hard when you're using the 0.6 calculations and not the surface per square foot.
Right. I'm going to run this video real quick so we have it up here.
The home has this. You got to watch this video. The home has less volume, and so that's substantial. This is a beautiful gasket. Take us through this.
Yeah. So this is just a poly on one side and a double bulbed gasket that probably eats up to somewhere between 0 to 3/16 of an inch. And so all of our panels coming together really achieve, we have the gaps ironed out for the expansion and contraction with the wood and how they go together. And we keep, like I was telling you earlier, we keep the fastening on inside corners to the inside. We keep the outside corners to the outside to keep away from that thermal conductivity of the fastener itself. But this gasket is the key component to getting this all done, especially when we're looking at those sub-zero temperatures. And I must say, it's not cheap, but what tape or what product is, but look at how fast it lays down and you're setting a wall panel immediately on it and it's doing everything it needs to do.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the key because laying this down quickly because you're moving quick off site, you're trying to get the job done. You don't want delays there because that takes time and money. And the fact that, this isn't just one layer of foam strip, it's 2 layers, right? There's a double barrier there. So you make sure that you grab it on both sides of the floor studs, right? The plate. So you're catching both sides of the plate. I think it's phenomenal. And then you're compressing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all built in. And you can see that at the end of the video right there, like that guy, right? I mean, look at how complicated that roof panel was. That's another thing in panelized construction, to be in the air and to be dealing with that.
Yeah.
And framing that and getting that and then figuring out how to air seal it. Forget it. I mean, yes, it can be done, but who wants to bring every tool in their toolbox up there to do it? We're doing this right in front of us ergonomically at waist height. And, there's a huge advantage to it.
Yeah, very, very much so. So, I mean,
cheap, that the gaskets aren't cheap, but what really the key is what the gaskets are doing are adding value to the house, right? It's allowing what you've talked about all day. And this is why we get so excited. That eliminates a point where normally the air would come in and out. And then, yes, you can go back and caulk it, but you're not going to be around when that's happening. So how do you know it's getting done? This is done when it has a driving rain 4 hours from now after these guys are home with their families, right? It's brilliant. I tip my hat to you and the steps that you showed us on this video. Brilliant.
Yeah, very much so. And Jay, people have to understand, I know you said the word added cost. I look at this. This is an enabler to get your job done faster, more efficient, airtight. This enables you to build a better product. So yeah, there may be a cost to the tape, but listen, there's also a cost of not getting it right. There's a cost of not doing it at all. Right. So it's just all how you look at it. So I want people to really understand it's the same way when people say, oh, well, you have to have a crane and this. Well, that crane's an enabler for us to build more homes, to be more efficient, to get the job done right and precise. So it's not a cost. It enables us to be better at what we do. And I think that's really important for people to understand. Love it. All right. So we have some photos too. Did we want to look at some of those photos, Jack?
Oh, sure. If you want to, if we got time still, let's do it.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here in just 1 second, but we have all this. I want to make sure if everybody wants to tune in and see it, let's show it.
We're just gonna have to do another show.
We're gonna do another show. Didn't they tell you we're live streaming from the production floor here?
We gotta do it. I'll just start wheeling my death card around here.
Yeah, there you go. We could do that too. Why not? Why not? Let me. I got to go back in here, stop this screen share, and then pull you back in.
Yeah, so this, this is a great photo right here. I love that. Oh, we're done.
All right, hold on.
Were you still in there?
I'm good.
There it is.
So that's just multifamily. I mean, the scale of this it's funny. That's a 36-foot long wall. Right. Doesn't look it, but it's all insulated. This was blower door tested as well. Not a passive house, but it was a person that wanted they're owning this apartment building. It's a multifamily, and they wanted it to be efficient for their customers that were going to be living there. So it's getting into the more multifamily world, of course, as we've seen. But it presents its own challenges, of course, and getting these subcontractors, I think, is harder than residential ones, actually, but it's a different team. But just an amazing amount of wall space that you can put in a couple minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I pulled that one up. Do you want me to go back to your desktop?
No. Did you have some others in there or no?
Yeah, for sure. Let's just get through here. Look at that.
So that's the insulating machine right there. That's what I was telling you. That has a remote tablet to it that has the recipes on it. We've got one for the roof line as well, and it's insulating from the top down, so you get a good visual. You understand the density of what's going in there, and like I said, they're all preset recipes for the thickness of type of wall we're doing.
I love it. You could eat off those floors.
I don't know about that.
Well, it just goes to show. Look how clean it is. Perfect. What do we have here?
Actually, it's kind of funny. That's a window being driven around by a robot with suction cups on it. So, when we get these huge, heavy windows, man, talk about something on site, right? That is a pain in the butt, especially when you get these triple pane passive house windows, these mid-mount windows. This is huge to be able to do in the shop. Did
everybody hear that? That's a robot.
I think it's in another photo. Do you have another photo there?
Yeah,
another one. Oh, maybe not.
No, I just have the roof panel going in there.
That's why the floors are so clean, because the robots don't go outside of the parking lot for lunch.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I have that other one. Why don't you let me share that screen? That one quick one. I just want to show a little bit about the efficiency. So what I'm showing here is a drawing, a wall drawing that's QR coded. This is able to be read from the screen, the tablet there. You see he has a QR code on his arm too to track his time. So this whole assembly process is tracked for square footage, for lineal footage, to understand how long it's taking us to do each one and sit at the different stations. So we scan in and out of all the different stations. Plus it's a lot less waste of paper, because we need about 6 drawings for every single layer.
Right.
And this just lets us scroll through it like in PDF format. And it's just huge. It's just huge to the build community, and to have this available, plus gain the knowledge for future estimating from it.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, listen, you guys are state of the art. This is amazing. I'm so happy you took the time to come on the show today, and I can see a big smile on Mark's face as well.
Yeah, I loved it.
Are you smiling there, Mark?
No,